In this video, we will create a static advertisement for social networks, such as, for example, Facebook. You can download all the necessary materials from the links in the video description. So let's get started. When I press the New File button, I will define the size of our document. I'll leave the width at 1080 pixels, the height at 1350 pixels. However, I will leave the resolution at 300 points for the simple reason that, when we create our advertisement, we can later use it for printing in high resolution, and it is much easier for us to adapt it to the screen display by reducing the resolution. So once we've done that, let's go to the Create button. We'll use Workspace Essentials, and just in case, I'll select the Reset Essentials option in the window drop-down menu, which I recommend to you as well. On the right side of the interface, as you can see, we have a Layers panel. That's actually where we'll do most of the work. The first thing I'm going to do is select the Gradient tool and then drag from the bottom to the top to get the background. You can see the values of these colors by double-clicking on the end circle and entering this value. These values will be listed in the video description. The same principle applies to the other end of the gradient. Once we've created the background, I can pull out the Layers tab for better visibility. We add a new layer by clicking on this icon with a plus sign. I select the Rectangle tool, and draw a rectangle. Using the Direct Selection tool, I select the top left point, hold Shift and drag to create a specific bevel. Click Yes. Then I will simply copy the layer on which I have this gradient by holding down Alt, clicking and dragging above the layer where I have the bevel. Let's say this layer is called Steep. Once I've done that, I select the top gradient layer. Right-click on it and select Create Clipping Mask. Then I go back to the Gradient tool, and just adjust the gradient for this bevel of ours. Let's add some snow. I will create a new layer, and call it Snow. The easiest way is to select the Brush tool. I choose the soft round brush. Enlarge to some 1102 pixels. I simply click once somewhere in the middle of this composition of ours. And then as blend mode I choose Dissolve. Of course, we can adjust the position using the Move tool. To eliminate this top half that I don't need, I'll choose Layer Steep. I hold down Ctrl, and then click on the thumbnail of the layer itself. You can see that the selection has appeared. Choose Select, Inverse. Go back to the snow layer and press Delete on the keyboard. With the Select tool, I simply click on the side to deselect. Then I can adjust the opacity, say to something like 55%. With the Eraser tool, I can smooth it out a bit more. So far I'm happy with how it looks. Let's add some glare from the sun on this track. I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call it Glow. A very simple way to create this glow is to also select the brush tool and select a lighter shade of blue. As long as I'm on the glow layer, I click where I want. Reduce the brush almost by half. Select all white and click again somewhere in the middle of the previously clicked brush. Once I've done that, I select the Move tool, reduce on one side as much as I want, that is, as much as I need. When I am satisfied, I confirm that it is the desired transformation. Blend mode will be pin light. I will duplicate this layer and select the overlay option. Select both layers, set the angle and simply set them to be on the edge of this slope. When I'm roughly satisfied, I can simply merge these two layers into one and reduce their opacity to 90%. Of course, I can still play with the blend modes and I'll use the overlay purely to get that bluish glow. Eventually we adjust the angle a little more and we can copy it once more. You can use the Ctrl+J shortcut to duplicate the layer. The names of the layers are Glow and Glow Copy. In this way, we got an interesting effect of glare of a sun which we will add later. Optionally, we can always additionally adjust the blend mode and opacity. What is important now is to add our skier. I remind you that in the description of the video there are links for downloading files. Shout out to authors from the Unsplash platform. Go to File, Place Embedded. Select skiing.png and click on Place. Commit Transform. We go to the Edit drop-down menu. Transform. Flip horizontal. Hold Shift to proportionally reduce the size of this skier. We rotate as much as we want. And when we are satisfied, we click on Commit Transform again. Of course, here we have a layer already called Skiing. What I want is to adjust this image a bit more, so in the Image drop-down menu, we will select Adjustment, Vibrance. Using the slider, adjust the color saturation as we want. OK. I will rasterize this layer. Then I hold Alt and drag to copy the layer. The skiing copy remains and we will refine the skiing layer a little more. Select the Overlay Blend mode. In the Filter drop-down menu, I select Other and High Pass. We will reduce the radius to some 1.5 pixels. In this way, we slightly sharpen the image itself and achieve that HDR effect. We select these two layers, right-click, and click on Merge Layers. When we have done that, we will copy this layer again, and we will work with the skiing copy layer. In the Filter drop-down menu, I choose Blur, Motion Blur. An angle of 34 degrees in this case suits me perfectly. The distance, let's say it's 687. And if I'm happy with this effect, I click OK. With this motion blur effect, we emphasized movement and a sense of speed. Using the eraser tool, While still on this skiing copy layer, I can erase the unnecessary parts. We will call this layer motion blur. Let's add the glare of the sun. Let's say the light is coming from here, purely to gain the dynamism of the composition itself. Add a new layer, and we will call it sunlight glow, which we will also solve by simply using the brush tool. Let's say about 800 pixels. It is enough to click just once a little outside the image itself. Optionally, we can add glare on the skier itself. So while we're on the skiing layer, select the magic wand, click anywhere outside of our skier to make a selection. We click select and the inverse option. What is very important is that while the selection is turned on, we create a new layer that we will call Silverline. While we are on that layer, select the brush tool, set the size to, say, 20 pixels. Soft round brush and follow the boundaries of the selection on the left side of the skier. Click anywhere with the selection tool to cancel the selection. When we turn off this skiing layer, you'll see what we actually got. Silver line is the active layer, and in the blend mode drop-down menu, select overlay. I think overlay does quite a good job. Note, we could also get this effect using the dodge tool option. In this way, at any moment, I can turn this layer on or off, or edit it additionally. One of the simpler ways to add a sun display in can be achieved in the following way. I simply copy the bottom layer with the gradient, hold Alt, and drag and turn it off, and I will simply rasterize the top one. While this layer is selected, in Filters I choose Render. I choose Lens Flare, and I think that this first one is quite okay. We can also play with brightness. If I click OK, then I got a sun that appears in the upper left corner. You may need to try this option a few times until you get the desired result. Render, Lens Flare, I'll reduce it to 100%. Bring the sun up a little more, and click OK. Once I'm happy with that, what's left is to add the drop shadow. The light is coming from this direction and we need a shadow. For that we will copy layer skiing. Hold Alt and drag down. Then the skiing copy layer, I pull it down. I choose Image, Adjustment, Levels, and in Output Levels I drag the slider to black. Click OK. Then Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal, and rotate this shadow. By holding Ctrl and dragging the control points, I can just adjust the perspective to how I think it should be. The shadow should be quite long. Everything here is optional and you can adjust it according to your own preference. Of course, hold Ctrl all the time while moving these control points. When I'm satisfied, I click Commit Transform. In Filters, select Motion Blur, and adjust the angle and distance. I can further play with the perspective of the shadow projection itself. And I can add filter, blur, Gaussian blur, let's say like this. And will reduce the transparency to about 30 to 40 or 50%. Of course, we need to eliminate the excess shadow that goes beyond the slope line. I'm going to use the steep layer, by holding Ctrl and clicking on the thumbnail of the steep layer, as in the previous case. Select, Inverse, select Layer Skiing Copy, Delete. In this way, I erased the shadow that went beyond this bevel. And we can choose the blend mode to be soft light, and return the opacity to about 90%. We have to add the text. We select the first layer, and then click on Create New Layer. Select the text tool, click and type the desired text. I will choose the font English. The link to download the font is in the description of the video. I'm holding Shift to make the text bigger. And if I just click and drag down, I'm going to make this text a little longer. If I double-click to select the text and click on the paragraph panel, I'll see text editing options, so I can adjust the spacing between letters as much as I want. If I hold Ctrl and drag the middle control point, I get skewed letters, which is more appropriate for this composition. When I'm satisfied, I click Commit Transform. I'm going to copy that layer, and I'm going to type another text. I adjust where I want it to be, adjust the size and spacing between the letters. I will select these two layers with inscriptions and simply drop them below the layer of our skier. What I want to do now is to lower everything a little, the whole composition, so that this letter would not enter the steep slope itself. I'll select all the layers except this last one, and I'll simply lower them all a little more, and bring the sunlight glow layer back up. I also position the inscriptions additionally. I could also enlarge the skier. I select Skiing, Silver Line and Motion Blur layers. Hold down Shift, drag in diagonally and then adjust the position. Motion Blur, in this case I could put it above the letters and then select Layer Skiing. Copy it under the Motion Blur layer. Image, Adjustments, Levels. Again in Output Levels I drag the slider to black. To see what actually happens I will temporarily turn off visibility for Layer Skiing. We will change the name of the layer to Skiing Shadow. Go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. I'll copy it above the second line of text. Right-click on Skiing Shadow layer and select Clipping Mask. We do the same with Skiing Shadow Copy layer. Let's restore the visibility of the skiing layer, and as you can see we have a shadow effect that falls on the letters. All that is left is to insert the logo, where this meeting is held, the QR code, the time of the meeting, etc. File, Place Embedded, Logo.png, Place. Hold Shift to make it diagonally smaller or larger. We will add another layer where we will write when the meeting is held, let's say, January 2026. With the help of text editing options, we can reduce the space between letters, or reduce the space between lines, alignment to the right. And if we were to make a poster or simply use all these same graphics for some promotion, in the form of a printed publication, we can add some pre-generated QR code, to fill this part here, and get an effective solution for our advertisement. I think that this snow effect is too strong. In this case we can simply find layer snow, reduce the opacity, and using the eraser tool, erase unnecessary parts and highlight some important elements. As you can see, we used quite a number of layers, and on the other hand, a very modest selection of effects, but we got a simple but effective solution. I hope you liked this video, and I wish you a happy new year, and much success in your work and studies. Keep learning and see you in the next video.